Hi, I'm Jackie, and over the past few years, my husband and I have experienced layoffs, starting a new business, supporting a family of five, side hustling, accumulating a lot of debt, and then working hard to pay it all off. Right now, we have levels set and we are working to build a strong financial future for ourselves and for our kids. In this video, I want to share the number one thing that I believe really changed our finances. We have tried a lot, some being pretty successful and other things just not working. But the number one thing that I truly believe completely changed our finances is probably not what you're thinking. This is something that most people aren't doing, especially Christian families. So if you're curious, stick around and we're going to get into that. As we prioritized our finances and worked on setting a budget and making a plan, there were so many months when the math just wasn't mathing. And it just seemed like, how are we going to make this work? And to be completely honest, we still experience that feeling from time to time. We might have an unexpected bill or an unexpected expense, and we're looking at the budget thinking like, okay, where is this money going to come from? My husband and I, we are a Christian family, and we believe that God is our provider. I also believe that he has called us to be good stewards of the talents and the resources that he has given us. While Dave and I were on our debt-free journey, we implemented a lot of different things. Like I mentioned, we side hustles, we got creative, we sold different things. We tried to make room in our budget, and we started living more frugally. But none of that compares to the number one thing that we started doing that made the biggest impact in our life. This might sound a little controversial, and some people might click out right when I say this. As Christians, we believe in tithing. And growing up, I went to a Catholic church, and I didn't understand the full meaning of what tithing was. The offering basket would come around and we would throw in $1 and just pass it along. As I got older and I started attending a Christian church and developing my relationship with the Lord, I learned more about what tithing is and the heart behind it. So tithing is giving the first tenth of your income. And in the Bible, it references like the tenth of your grains or your produce or the best tenth of the resources that they had at the time. God doesn't need our money. God is the creator of the whole universe and everything in it. We only have this money because he's allowed us to have it. By tithing, we are performing an act of obedience and an act of trust. So tithing would be the first 10%. So 10% of our income right off the top, by giving it back to the Lord as an offering, it has been a bit of a heart check for us. Just giving open-handedly, believing that what we're giving back to the church is going to further the mission of God and that he is going to multiply that in ways that we cannot even imagine. And I've heard this said before, and it just sticks in my head, that you cannot outgive God. We have seen that time after time in our life. Since we started tithing consistently, we have seen blessing upon blessing and doors open when it makes absolutely no sense. And again, this is not like a genie, right? We're not just like praying to God so we can get things back, or we're not tithing with the intention of like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I know I'm going to receive so much more. But that is the after effect of it. That when you're a generous person, you attract more generosity and more blessings onto yourself. There are actual statistics that show generous people end up accumulating more wealth over time as opposed to non-generous people. And again, this is not necessarily to be woo-woo and to say that, oh, God's going to give you more because you're tithing. But when you're a generous person, people are more receptive to that as well. People want to work with other people that are more generous. Generous people appear to be more attractive than non-generous people. So there's a lot at play, even with the heart of generosity, that the more you give, the more you're going to receive in so many ways, even outside of finances. That could be relationships, that could be opportunities, business opportunities. I wanted to share this today because I know that when you're struggling and you're looking at your budget and you're just trying to maybe keep your head above water, it's so hard to even think about being generous or to think about tithing or giving. And it just does not make sense. But what doesn't make sense to us in the earthly does not restrict what God can do. And we have opened our hands when we didn't think the numbers were going to make sense. And at the end of the month, God has shown up and just provided for us time after time. And we know that this is the Lord working in our finances because there is no logical way why some of these things have happened. We have received unexpected gifts from unexpected people. We've received extra bonuses that were not anticipated at all with work. The first time that the Lord ever blessed us in a big way, it was so undeniable in that moment. And I can share that with you guys today. This was years ago when we were living in our first home. At that time, we had purchased our dream home. It was everything that we thought we wanted. I was staying home with my kids. My husband was working full time. And one night, I woke up out of my sleep and I just felt this overwhelming sense of stress and overwhelm and this urgency that I had a credit card, and that credit card was accumulating a balance, and I had $7,000 of debt on that card. And the reason I accumulated that debt was because I had been working full time prior to me being a stay-at-home mom. And when I started staying home with my daughter, I did not adjust my spending habits. And I would go out and we would shop and I would spend and I would buy things that we needed and I would put it on the card and not really think about it. And I would pay off my minimum payments. I would pay it off on time, but I was carrying a balance and it was growing and growing. And I felt like it was getting away from me. And up until that point, it didn't really stress me. I just believed that we could pay it off and we would take care of it. But that night, for whatever reason, I felt a stirring in me and I literally got out of bed. I went down to the kitchen. I was so overwhelmed. I logged into the bank account and I just felt this wave of stress. Like, I have to get rid of this. I have to take care of this. And I needed to share this information with my husband. At that time, we had separate bank accounts. It wasn't that I was hiding it from him. We just didn't really discuss it. That night, he came downstairs. He felt me get out of bed. He wanted to check on me. He's like, "What's going on? Are you okay?" He could see that I was visibly upset. And I just opened up to him and I shared everything with him. And his heart was so loving. And he just held me and said, "It's okay. We'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it." And he just reassured me in that moment. And it just did give me a sense of peace. I just thanked him. We hugged, went back to bed. A few days later, and I am not exaggerating when I say this story. I believe this is part of our testimony. I cannot give glory to anyone else except for God. A few days later, I opened the mail and I received a check in the mail. And this check was for a lawsuit from a company that I previously worked with. So I worked for this company for a certain amount of time, and then there was a lawsuit that ensued from that. And because I was employed and I was affected during that time frame, I received a payout. But again, I didn't sue anyone. I didn't even know this was happening in the background. When I opened that letter, I received a check for $7,000. The exact amount, almost to the penny, of what we needed to clear that debt. And I do not believe that this was a coincidence. And I'm not sharing this to like brag or try to put ourselves on a pedestal in any kind of way. Like all of the glory just belongs to God. And I believe that he woke me in that moment, that night when I was, overwhelmed with tears, because the path that I was on prior to that, if I would have received that check in the mail, I would not have even thought twice about that credit card. I would have been like, oh, what can we do around the house? Let's put up a new fence. Let's do some home improvements. Let's go on vacation. I would have so quickly and so easily have spent that money without even thinking twice. And I just believe that the Lord has shown up in so many different ways to guide our decisions and to give us a discernment to make smarter decisions with our finances. And honestly, with our lifestyle, we have downsized our home, we've reduced our expenses, and we were doing that for a while before my husband was laid off from his job. So it was almost feeling like a season of preparation. We were getting aligned, we were getting things in order, so that when the time did come that we had a big wave of, stress and overwhelm, and when we had an unexpected change in our income, that we were in a position that we could weather the storm. And that's a big part as to why we felt like it was the right time to start this business, that the Lord had been putting this passion on my husband's heart for a long time. And it felt like it was the right time to make that move. We didn't have a huge mortgage. We didn't have a lot of financial constraints holding us back to where we couldn't take the risk. So we're still going down that path and we're still figuring those things out. But every step along the way over the past few years, we have been tithing open-handedly with an open heart and just believing that the Lord is our provider, that he is the source of everything that we have, and just giving that to him, and also just trying not to stress over certain things, which for me, that is difficult because I like to be a little type A and have control, but just giving that to the Lord and just know that, again, yes, I want to make smart decisions. Yes, I want to plan and be mindful of our future and care for our kids and have financial stability for them. But at the end of the day, I know that we're just being good stewards of the resources that he's given us so we can bless our family and we can have a strong foundation, but so that we can also bless others. Tony Robbins said this quote, and I might butcher it, but he had said this like in a speech, and he said, so many people think that they're going to give when they have more. But if you can't give 10 cents out of $1, what makes you think that you'll be able to give $1 million away when you're making 10 million? And I always remind myself of that whenever it is time to tithe. And of course, we're humans. So when you see that amount and you're like, sending that off right off the top, and of course you could think about like, oh, I could use this for this, or I could put it in savings, or I could do this. But it's like a heart check. Okay, it's 10 cents out of $1. When I break it down like that, it seems so small. And I don't want to give small, right? That helps me to put it back into perspective. I really felt like I wanted to share this today, not to guilt trip anyone, not to push my beliefs on anyone else, but really just to share. So if you're in a position where you're feeling stressed and tight and you want to give, but you feel like you can't, I would challenge you just to try. Take it right off the top. As soon as your paycheck hits, just take 10% and give open-handedly, give just freely, and just see what happens. I've also heard people say that, oh, the church doesn't need my money, or I don't know what they're going to be doing with my money, or I don't trust the church with my money. And if that's how you feel, and if you're a Christian, or if you're a believer or Catholic or whatever, and if that's how you genuinely feel, then maybe it's time to be looking at a new church. Because if you don't trust them with your money, how can you trust them with leading your spiritual life? So that might be something to consider as well. But I hope this video was helpful for someone out there. And if you'd like to share any of your experiences, I'd love to hear them. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.